Welcome to Master the Start, a podcast for young professionals where we interview business experts on how you can master the start of your life in business.
Hey everyone, today we have former NFL MVP Rich Gannon on our show. This is pretty exciting. He is a friend of the show's. He's an incredible guy. Sorry for a little bit of a hiccup in the middle of the show. We lost audio, so we had to kind of piece things together because he has a very busy schedule because he is about to go off and start broadcasting here coming up in the fall, so we wanted to be respectful of his time. But let's get to the point. Who is Rich Gannon? Number one, if you asked him who he was, and I didn't really get into this on the podcast, he would say that he's a father first, man of faith second, or maybe faith versus family second. For you guys, we wanted to kind of dive into his football career. Let's just look at his background. He was drafted by the Patriots. The Patriots actually wanted to convert him from a quarterback to a running back, but he stuck to his guns, as you'll hear in the podcast, and decided to stick with quarterback, so he moved on to the Minnesota Vikings. He was a Washington Redskin and a Kansas City Chief, and last but not least, he was an Oakland Raider. That is where he had his most success from 1999 to 2004. With the Raiders, he was able to achieve a lot. 4 consecutive seasons making the Pro Bowl, 3 consecutive postseason appearances, 2 All-Pro selections, and 1 MVP. He also brought the Raiders to the Super Bowl. This guy is not only a great football player, he is a great businessman. He is a part of multiple real estate deals. He is a loving husband, and he does broadcasting now. And you can see him work for the NFL on CBS, and he also co-hosts the Sirius Blitz on Sirius XM NFL Radio. And here is Rich Gannon.
Welcome to our little podcast. How you been?
Doing really well. I'm just getting ready to head back to work and doing the preseason games. I got 4 games on the West Coast, so it's going to be a busy August, and then a full schedule with CBS. It's going good, though. Everybody's good. Sean and I just celebrated 25 years. In our business as football players, that's a long time. You know what I mean? Unfortunately,
Congrats.
what happens is, unfortunately, when players get done playing, they struggle with the transition. A lot of them, and then then financially they struggle a little bit. They still continue to spend at the same rate that they were as players, and the wives and husbands often fight about money, and next thing you know, the divorce rate with former players is very, very high, unfortunately.
This isn't even one of the questions, but I'm just curious now. How in the world did you learn to be so incredibly different than the common NFL player when it comes to business, real estate, everything?
I think, I was blessed. I had parents who loved and cared for me, sent me to great schools, and was a product of Catholic education. And my dad never had to talk about it. He just showed me just the value of hard work. My dad was a really hard worker. My dad practiced law until he died. He was 81 when he died, and he's still working, 6 days a week. So I saw that. I knew that was important. And so I, always was a hard worker and wasn't the most talented guy, but had to work, really work hard to get an opportunity. And so, that really helped, and then I just always tried to be a good decision maker, and that's not, there's really no secret. If you want to be successful in life, you got to work at it. You got to find something you love, first of all, and then work at it.
Yeah. Well, then, as long as we kind of already are touching on how to be successful, do you have any life hacks for listeners? So if you were a college student, what would you recommend a college student do this week that could make their life better?
When I look back on, I graduated from college, I was 21, and I wish that I would have asked more questions, particularly of people older than me that have, already been down that road. In other words, when I was 21, I was a rookie with the Minnesota Vikings. And that first off season, I wish in hindsight that I would have called my agent at the time and asked to speak to a retired NFL quarterback, someone that had already played the position and dealt with adversity and dealt with the media and, handling success and setbacks and injuries and those type of things. I never thought, not that I was, arrogant. It's just I never thought that. And I wish that, in hindsight, I wish I would have taken the time to ask people that have already kind of journeyed down that path, and really in everything. I mean, there's decisions I've made that have been good and bad in business. I wish I would have taken the time to first and foremost pray about it, but then also ask people that, have more experience than I do. So if you're interested in marketing, people like to help young people. So find someone in your network and ask, can I come in and spend a day in the summertime watching and asking some questions, or go out to lunch with you, or take you to lunch, or that's what internships are all about. But I think sometimes people are afraid to ask. People don't want to inconvenience somebody. And I just think that in hindsight, if I could do it all over again, and I do a much better job of it now. I ask a lot of questions prior to making a decision. But I wish when I was younger, I think sometimes we feel we're so fearless and we're like, I'll figure it out, and I'll just stick my nose down and work hard. But boy, sometimes we'd be able to work a lot more efficiently if we would just take the time to ask people who have the experience and the wisdom and the knowledge in that particular area of expertise.
Yeah, so even today, transferring over into broadcasting, do you apply that a whole lot more as you get older? You still ask a ton of questions?
I just got off the phone, Bobby, with John Madden. I spent an hour and a half on the phone today with John Madden. And a couple of weeks ago, I was on the phone with Doug Collins, a former NBA player and coach and executive, and now, who's also done television work for Turner and broadcasting. And I was on the phone with a couple of weeks prior to that with Bill Rafferty with CBS Sports. But today was an invaluable opportunity just to spend some time with really a Hall of Fame coach and also a Hall of Fame broadcaster. I mean, John Madden, was really the best at what he did. And so I got an hour and a half on the phone with him today, just really picked his brain, just talking about his preparation, things he did, areas where he got better, things he would do differently if he went back. Just, he spent, several decades at the top of his profession. So that was an invaluable opportunity and a rare opportunity, quite frankly, to spend some time with Coach Madden.
That is so awesome. Another question then. To this point, what would you say the greatest moment was in your professional career?
So, personally or professionally?
Professionally.
I would say, well, my career is really, I've been blessed. I spent 17 years as a player in the National Football League and the last 13 as a broadcaster. So for the last 30 years, I've been involved in the National Football League. I would say professionally, probably my greatest moment was in 2002, being the National Football League's most valuable player and taking our team to Super Bowl 37. That was kind of a culmination of a lot of hard work and quite frankly, a long journey professionally for me. And I think as a broadcaster, I don't know that I've reached that pinnacle yet. I'm entering my 14th season with CBS Sports Network, and I hope and I feel like I'm getting better every year. Challenging profession, so hopefully my greatest moment hasn't occurred yet in terms of the broadcasting part of it.
Yeah, so could you go back to 2002, that MVP moment? Like, what did you feel when you actually got that trophy?
Well, Bobby, up until that point, it was a long journey for me. I was drafted by the New England Patriots. I was traded 6 days later to the Minnesota Vikings. The Patriots didn't even want me to play quarterback, and so I spent my first 6 years in Minnesota, trying to earn playing time. And when I finally got that opportunity, the team traded me to the Washington Redskins. And then that season in 93, I had shoulder surgery after that season, was out of football in 94, went to Kansas City for 4 years, mostly as a backup, and then went to Oakland in 99. So it was a long journey to finally get the opportunity to really have my own team, have an organization and a coach and an owner that believed in me enough to give me that responsibility. And we won 3 straight AFC West titles. We went to 2 AFC championship games and a Super Bowl in my first 4 seasons. So it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of hard work. And I think the culmination was that 2002 season, winning the league's most valuable player award, and also, taking our team to the Super Bowl. That was a lot of fun, and because it was a journey. And I think, when you finally reach the mountaintop, it feels pretty good.
Well, you touched on your journey as a Patriot and Viking, and so somewhere in there, did you have a moment where you were the closest to just kind of giving up on football?
I don't know that I ever gave up. I had a lot of setbacks. First of all, the day of the draft, I was drafted by a team that didn't want me to play quarterback, so I told the Patriots I was going to go to law school if they didn't, trade me, and so they traded me 6 days later, and I went to Minnesota, and I basically didn't play very much my first couple of years, and finally got a chance to play and tore my knee up, blew out my ACL in 1988, and so I had surgery in '89, and then was traded, as I said, after a couple, I think 6 seasons with the Vikings, and then I had shoulder surgery, and so there was a lot of adversity along the way. I don't know that I ever felt like I was going to quit. I just was a determined individual, a hardworking guy that wanted to make sure I made sure I finished what I started, and that was important. But I don't know that I ever really felt like I was going to give up. There was times I was really down and disappointed and concerned about my future, but I always prayed to God for guidance and strength, and really felt like I was being called to continue to the journey and to continue to work hard at my craft to try and get better. And that's really what I did. And fortunately, somehow I fooled them for 17 years.
That's really cool. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. So the last thing, do you have any parting thoughts, anything you would ask of the audience, anything you'd recommend for them to do in their daily lives?
Well, I think it's important to pray every day. And I think, you and I have talked both in person and over the phone about making good decisions in life. And most of the poor decisions I've made on my own. In other words, I didn't pray about them or ask the Lord for guidance and strength. And so I always try to pray about big decisions in life. And I also try to ask others, most importantly, people that are experts in their field, whether it be an attorney or a business owner or somebody who knows something more about that particular decision. So I'm always telling young people, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody in your chosen field to be able to share some nuggets or some wisdom. And people are happy to do that. Been successful and be to help young people if you only ask. And I think that's important. And I just continue to try and do that even today as I make the transition from football to broadcasting. I mentioned to you earlier, I spent time on the phone today with John Madden, Coach Madden, who was a legend in football and in broadcasting as a coach, a Hall of Famer. And I spent an hour and a half on the phone with him today just picking his brain about broadcasting and about football and areas where I could get better at what I do each and every Sunday. So I probably wouldn't have done that in my 20s. But now that I'm in my 50s, I realize the importance of reaching out and asking others for help.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. College students in general really appreciate you giving us the time, and we'll definitely have to touch base soon.
That's good, buddy. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for all you're doing to make such a difference in the lives of so many young people across our great country.
Hey everyone, 4 quick things before you go. Number 1, check us out on iTunes, rate us, make us look amazing. Even if this first one wasn't exactly perfect, we'd really appreciate it. Number 2, go to gomahi.us and vote on that question that you would want us to ask next. Number 3, look out for our podcast next Monday. That is going to be with Greg Frankenfield, the CEO and founder of Magenic, a very large software company. He will be a very interesting guy, and we're pretty excited for that one. The 4th and final thing, the next audio will be significantly better. We switched over from a free conference call app, which any of you guys could use. We switched over to Skype and a new recording platform. So it will be much better. We won't have any hiccups, and you should really enjoy it. So we're looking forward to seeing you next week.